Look around you. Can you believe that every single person that you've ever come across to are all different from each other? Different personalities, traits, and the fact that they all have their own say about the world and how it looks from their point of view. Just because another person grew up in the same environment you did would not guarantee that they will share the same perspective as you. This is because environment isn't the only thing that can make up one's personality. According to Kernberg, personality derives from the human organism's capacity to experience subjective states that reflect the internal conditions of the body, as well as the perceptions of the external environment within which the body functions in. This includes discrete psychic functions such as perceptions, cognition, and various levels of self-reflective functions. Which explains that, despite environment playing a big role in one's personality, relationships with those surrounding one is also a crucial influence on that person's perspective, this meaning family and friends. The world is full of diversity and differences amongst people, whether it's the way they were raised or the way people in their life affect them to be the person who they are today. That makes each individual unique. But what about me? Who am I? Tests such as MBTI and the Big 5 personality test can help determine who I am as a person. The first result I'd like to elaborate is my Myers-Briggs type indicator result. Out of the 16 personalities, I received the type ENFP. The E in ENFP stands for extroversion, which, according to Rushton, being an extrovert would mean that one would prefer to obtain information through an orientation towards the outer world of people, events, or things, instead of the inner world of concepts and ideas. Extroverts also enjoy meeting new people, thinking aloud, and being active. Which is true from my end. I tend to say whatever's in my head out loud without much consideration of the possible consequences that can result from it. Between all my friends, I'm the one who's always up for a party, always up for socializing, always up to just meeting new people. And even at parties, I'm the one who's saying hi to people, introducing myself and stuff. Unlike some of my friends who are rather introverted. Socializing with people doesn't wear me out at all. It actually energizes me even more. Although, of course, like everybody else, I sometimes like to spend my time alone, but for the most part, I like people around. The N in ENFP stands for intuition, which, according to Matar, is the process of how an individual utilizes their senses and perceives information. Someone who is said to be intuitive, although they will start with concrete thoughts, they'll eventually move to the abstract and they will dwell on possibilities. In a sense that I have the tendency to think outside the box and to see events and issues as a whole rather than focusing on the little details. Which is why sometimes I can be perceived as careless or that I don't pay attention as much. But it's just because I always try to see the bigger picture than just focusing on the things that I don't think is personally relevant. I always try to find new possibilities rather than to just take up what's already in front of me. I was a committee in the student council in my high school, and we'd plan events, and I've always thought about new ideas. But they never actually work because I don't think them through. I see it as a possibility and an idea, something that could look good in the long run, but I would never really consider the important stuff that could affect them. For example, budgets, or how much time it would take and how much effort it would take. The F stands for feelings. And according to Saginaw, it represents arriving at judgments by subjective processes and not so much impersonal and logical processes. Meaning that I tend to think things through depending on situations and with more of a subjective approach rather than a more analytical or logical point of view. I care about other people's feelings and I base my decisions not only on top of facts, but personal values are also involved. I find it really difficult to base my decision on facts and logic. I tend to care about people's feelings and base my decisions to suit them too. I would never make a decision that could potentially hurt the people around me. For example, I could never fire a person. If someone who worked for me and is there for a long time but his work efficiency has gone down, I would ask him what's wrong and try to find a solution to this instead of just firing them. even though it would be so much easier just to fire them and hire a new person. I'm a very compassionate person, so I find it hard to give somebody the hard truth. The P in ENFP stands for perceiving, which according to Kohan et al. Means when a person tries to be a spectator and leave themselves all the options open for as long as possible, which means they are very slow to judge. I completely agree with this, because even though that means that I'm very flexible to changes, I'm also very indecisive. I'm probably the most spontaneous person you'll ever know. And I personally find it hard to make quick decisions because I worry it might not be the right one. So I tend to plan things till the very, very end. For instance, I didn't even know that I was gonna come to Monash University just because there were too many options and I couldn't choose one, so I chose this one. ENFPs are viewed to be fun-loving, outgoing, and people-oriented. We enjoy helping others and love to be admired. ENFPs are also more of a talker than a listener, which I think all resonate me. So here are my results for the Big 5 personality test. And as you can see, I got really high on extroversion and neuroticism. I got relatively high for agreeableness and openness to experience, but I got pretty low for conscientiousness. And these are the explanation why. Scoring high in openness to experience doesn't surprise me at all. Only because I've always known that I love to try new things and wasn't afraid to try them. For example, all my trips are mostly spontaneous. If I weren't open to new experiences, I would never have gone the places I've gone to and would never have met the people that I've met. Secondly, I scored low on this part just because I know that I am definitely not organized and I'm not very disciplined. I tend to do things my way and at my pace. This part I got a really high score just because I am an extrovert and I feel like I know that because I love being sociable. I love being around people, as mentioned in the previous test. I scored pretty high on this one, although not as high as the others. I'm a pretty flexible person. I tend to just follow. In a group work, I tend to be the follower. Some other person can be the leader and I'll just do it as they say. Although sometimes I can have my own edge and I put myself first, which is kind of selfish. But most times, I'm a team player. I want the best for the team and not only for myself. Scoring high in neuroticism just shows how emotionally unstable I am, which I already know. I'm a very emotional person and I often get anxiety and I get worried all the time. It's hard for me to have my own self-control, which can be perceived as negative in many ways. People might think that I'm insecure or that I'm irrational, which is all true, but it's honestly something I cannot help. In conclusion, certain aspects of my personality can help me create my communication strength, such as being an extrovert. It makes it easier for me to talk to people since I actually enjoy it. And the fact that I got a high score in agreeableness and I'm the perceiving type, I'm able to go along well with the people that I work with, especially since some of them are more of a leader than I am, hence my flexibility. However, because I'm so extroverted and intuitive, I sometimes fail to listen carefully to the person that I'm conversing with, because I usually most of the talking, and when they are talking, I have the tendency not to pay attention to what they are saying. As for my high score in neuroticism, this might implicate the way I communicate with people, in a sense that I get easily upset. In the workplace and as a leader in general, my indecisiveness can cause serious problems because it might seem like I'm incompetent. And also because I base my decisions on people's feelings and I care about pleasing everybody. I could be seen as unprofessional or that I'm not strict enough. A way to cope with this is to adapt my own personality and try to view the issue from a company's point of view and not much of my own. With that said, I believe that nobody's perfect, but there are always room for improvement. As for myself, I think I should learn to control my emotions more. Self-control is something that I lack highly, and I could help myself practice that by not taking everything to heart. Another one is that my lack of self-confidence and self-esteem affects my indecisiveness and the fact that I care so much about what other people think, hence basing my decisions on them. To overcome this, I will try to put myself first and start believing in myself. Thank you for watching my analysis on my personality.